was, probably not as important as some of the other things a little bit more important in our lives, which is our family, our health, and, our faith. So I think we're all blessed to be here, be in a situation here this evening. I know it's been hard for a lot of people throughout the country, but, I think the servicemen and women and the people on the front lines from a health standpoint in the hospitals, I mean, they deserve more credit than, a lot of these players that, we're going to talk about here over the next, few days. So, I think it's certainly unique, but, I would say I think we're all very fortunate and blessed to be in a position that we're in, and for all of us, hopefully, to have our health and, be able to enjoy the things in life that sometimes we take for granted. I know I have here the past 3 or 4 weeks. I think it's it's been awesome for me to be with my family on a daily basis, being around my daughters every day. And ultimately, that's more important than football and the things that we're doing and some of the things that we're going to talk about. But, we'll certainly talk about them. But, just thought it was appropriate to make some commentary there. So obviously we made a trade here in the first round. Certainly, like most situations in years past, we're always ready to pick. It was a situation where we thought that the trade made sense, so it puts us in a position picking the top of the second round tomorrow at 4/3. We still have some picks there at the end, the 2/4, the 4/6, and the 1/7. So we'll see how it all works out here tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be active tomorrow. At some point, we'll end up picking a player or 2 or 3. Like, who knows how it goes? But we have some flexibility going into tomorrow, so we'll recalibrate where we are, what's left, and kind of take a look at some of the different players. I just say overall process-wise, the league did a great job. Everything went pretty smoothly. I think everybody deserves a lot of credit in the league. Say our group did a great job. The communication was pretty fluid. We really didn't have any gaps. So what we try to do is the best of our ability to replicate our process that we normally use in the draft room. I'd say we were able to do that here, this evening. So that's kind of where we are for tonight. Certainly take some questions here for a little bit. We don't have any players to talk about, but probably some things that we can hit here over the next few minutes.
We're going to start with Mike Petraglia, followed by Mike Reese.
Thank you, Stacy. Good morning, Nick, and thanks for doing this. I guess what I want to go over is how much of a priority was it to target a particular player? I know Justin Jefferson went right before you were going to pick at 23, and how much of a priority was it for the organization to move into the second round, and you now have a second round value?
Yeah. I think we go into these drafts pretty open-minded, and we really look at everything on a case-by-case basis. So like we've talked about in the past, you always have to be prepared to pick, which we certainly were ready to pick, and we think we had a handful of players that we were discussing, and the opportunity came up with the Chargers that we thought made sense. So each situation that comes up, we look at it on a case-by-case basis, and we do what we feel is the best. So I don't think we go into it and say, okay, well, if this happens, we're going to do this. We don't look at it that way. I think we just look at what's in front of us and then make a decision, and then we move forward with whatever decision that we make. So,
if I could follow up real quick, Nick, did you make that decision, you and Bill and the staff make that decision to pull off the trade once Jefferson went to the Vikings?
We were having discussions with the Chargers, and they went ahead and, we kind of saw how the pick went, and we were kind of on the clock at the time when we made the pick. So in the end, it worked itself out. I think the Chargers put themselves in a position to do what they wanted to do, and we thought it made sense. And we could have very easily gone the other way and picked a player, which we would have done. So I don't think what happened in front of us necessarily dictated what we ultimately did. I think we just looked at the information that we had in front of us, went through it, and made a decision to trade out of it. So that's what we did.
Thank you.
We'll go Mike Reese, followed by Ian Steele.
Nick, did you want to repeat what you said before we came on the recording when you were surveying the scene about the reporter? Someone, like, you had something to say about someone and the way they were dressed? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
You're trying to one up Ian, I
I'm
guess.
just joking. I'm just
That's
joking.
all right.
Just spinning.
Good, Mike. If that's on your recording, that hopefully
I,
helps you.
I wasn't recording. I appreciate it. Just spinning it forward to tomorrow. It's going to be a big day for you guys. I know you broke down the picks, but I mean, how big is this with what you have accumulated here on day 2?
Yeah, right now we have 5 picks, so kind of spread out a little bit. One at the top of the second, and then really kind of all littered throughout the 3rd round. It's not the same, but I would say similar. I think it was 2009. Like we ended up clumping those 4 second-round picks together. That was the Chung year. You know, we took Chung at the top of the 2nd round. We ended up picking, 4 players in the 2nd round. It's a round later. Just give you some flexibility just to maybe maneuver around in the middle there a little bit. The late round picks are the late round picks. So when you look at them all together, I mean, if you take the 7th, you basically have, call it 12 picks in 4 rounds or 5 rounds, whatever it is. So, we'll see. Like I said, we're going to look at, what's left. And then kind of recalibrate. And if we want to move around a little bit, we certainly have the ammunition and the flexibility to do so. Most and or trades, it's all player driven, right? So if there's a player that you feel you need to move to get, then you can go ahead and do it. So we'll see how it all goes. I mean, I would expect us to pick a handful of players tomorrow. How we pick them ultimately will be determined by what we're looking at and how much we actually end up moving.
Ian Steele, followed by Noah Princiotti.
Thanks, Stacy. Nick, thanks for taking the time here. How important was it for you guys to bridge the gap between what you had at 23 and 87, with this trade? You mentioned maybe giving you guys some more flexibility down the road, but how big was that gap for you guys to kind of, shrink there?
Yeah, not necessarily. Because we have enough picks where if we had to move around, we have the 4 late round picks, we have the 3 picks, or had the 3 picks in the 3rd round, the 4th round. So, kind of going back to what I said to Mike a little bit earlier, everything's looked at on a case by case basis. So I would say it's more circumstance than anything else. This is where we are right now. So at least we have an idea. So we're kind of sitting there at the top of the round here. So I think we're 5 or 6 picks out, we're 37 or whatever it may be. So it wasn't something that we said, well, we definitively have to move and try to bridge that gap a little bit. And I don't think that was the discussion. I think, like I said, if we didn't trade, we would have talked about the same thing. We've been talking about a player we picked at 23, and then would have been talking about, okay, could we get back in the 2nd round possibly? So, I wouldn't say there wasn't any intentionality behind it. I think it's just kind of what the end result was.
Next question, Nora Princiotti, followed by Maureen.
Hey, Nick. I hope you and your family are doing well. Just curious how things went logistically with all the technology that you guys were using tonight, particularly with the trade, just because I think making trades was one of the things that, everyone was most interested in how that was all going to go down. So how did it all work?
Yeah. Great question, Nora. I'd say it actually went very similar to how it goes in the draft room. So, we were able to connect to the league. So essentially what you have to do is just make sure both sides of the trade are coordinated. So go through the league office, which you normally do anyways in the draft room. So, okay, we're trading with the Chargers. Here are the terms. And then they confirm it on the other side. So from that perspective, it went pretty smoothly. So the league did a great job. We went through some dry runs, obviously Monday we had the league test. We did a few things on our own as well to make sure, okay, what that communication would actually look like. So, I mean, look, the power could go out tomorrow and then, we could be doing faxes, but, I'd say today was pretty smooth. Everything was kind of moving along pretty smoothly there up until, the first 10 picks, and it was pretty quiet. Everybody's probably sitting around like, holy cow, nothing's going on. And then, you had the flip there, 13 and 14 with San Francisco and Tampa Bay, and then you had a couple more trades that came up along the way. So I think once people probably saw the trades that, there wasn't any issues, maybe they were more inclined to do it. But for the most part, I'd say it was pretty smooth. And the league the league's done a great job, I think, in terms of handling that. And, our IT department has done a great job here over the last few weeks, just making sure that it's as seamless as possible given the circumstances.
Next question will be more Gordon. I don't have any additional requests after that. So if you have a question, you can either use that raise hand function or, oh, I see. We'll go Greg Bedard afterwards.
Hey, Nick, thanks so much for taking the time. I know before the draft, Bill had said there was great depth at the quarterback position. I'm just curious, based on how the board fell tonight, if you guys still believe that there's great depth at that position going forward for the later rounds.
Yeah, I think there's a number of players kind of in a pocket here, probably these next, 2 to 3 rounds, across positions. When you just go back and just kind of evaluate kind of what happened tonight, right? 6 or 7 tackles went. I think 6 or 7 corners went, or 6 receivers, 4 quarterbacks, which I think going into the draft, I think the expectation was that's probably how it was going to shake out. So there's certain positions may have a little bit more left over here moving forward. So hopefully we're in a position where there's still good football players that are available that we're able to pick. That's how we feel. We'll have to kind of take it, pick by pick here, but there's still good players that are kind of littered throughout the draft here, and everybody just has to figure out what makes the most sense for their particular situation and their team. Which is what we're trying to do.
Greg Bedard, followed by Aiden Kern.
You've been in the room with Bill before. I'm just wondering what virtual Bill is like. Is anybody camped out with him? Like, is he doing like a bosom buddy type thing with Ernie or anything like that?
What is anybody in a Winnebago? I'd say virtual Bill is similar to draft room Bill. So, I'm not with him, but so who's with him, I'm not sure, but I think he's doing fine. I think he's doing okay. Like I said, the communication, kind of going back to, Nora's question a little bit earlier, the communication was fairly smooth. Our group has worked together for a number of years. Everybody has understanding of their responsibilities, and we all have worked together well with each other here for a number of years now. So, a lot of credit goes to, the preparation and the people and the work that's put in. Like I said, kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, and I mentioned this the other day, just talking to Megan O'Brien, we just try to replicate our draft process as much as possible and just project it into a virtual situation. So the more you kind of normalize, keep things as normal as possible, right? It's kind of like what we're dealing with right now, day to day, right? You want to try to develop as much routine as possible and do as many things as you normally would do, understanding that there's some constraints. So I would say when you apply that to the draft, it's the same kind of mindset and principle, and that's kind of what we try to do.
Next question is Aiden Kern.
Hey, Nick. David Andrews announced tonight on Instagram that he'll be returning to football in 2020. Curious how that factors into your draft plans, and does the team have full confidence in his ability to slide back into that starting center position for 2020?
Yeah, haven't seen that here yet, obviously, but look, David's been a good football player for our team for a long time. So I would say, we try not to look at anybody's individual situation. We try to look at kind of the overall all-encompassing picture. And what we've always tried to do is just add players, good football players to our team that we think can help us. Sometimes it works the way you hope, sometimes it doesn't. That's just kind of the nature of what we do. But, David's been a great asset to our program. Multi-year captain. There's a lot of things that he brings to the table. Nobody worked harder, I would say, just in his capacity and his role. Even last year, he wasn't playing. But the more players and people that we have like David Andrews in our building, it's better for the Patriots and everybody else.
Thanks, Nick.
Next question is Doug Kyde, and I'll ask again, if you want to ask a question, either raise your hand, use the chat feature, or text me. Go ahead, Doug.
Nick, it looks like have you been learning to cut your own hair there or something?
I've been cutting my hair since college, actually.
Wow, you're well prepared for this.
You never know. Actually, funny story. I'll not to go off on a tangent, but I've been cutting my hair since college. And in one year, I actually was going on vacation over the summer, and the attachment fell off. So unfortunately, I didn't have a choice but to shave it all off. So I kind of got used to it. It was actually my senior year playing at John Carroll. So kind of got used to it, but you figure out a way. Some people have their wives do it. I just do it myself, just make sure you have a mirror. So Find a way. It's like a book I'm reading. It's called Everything is Figure Outable. So try to figure out a way.
There we go. You guys traded Gronk yesterday for what basically resulted in I guess a free draft pick, I would say. How do you determine the value in a trade for a retired player?
Yeah, I think trades always kind of take on a life of their own. So, you just try to figure out, okay, either you're comfortable with the compensation that's being offered and provided or you're not, and you make a decision and you move forward. I think that's kind of how we've always approached trades, whether it's veteran players, whether it's during a draft. So, there's no set formula for anything like that. So you take the information, you have your process, you talk about it, you make a decision, and you move forward, which is essentially what we try to do in that particular case.
Thanks.
Next question is Tom Curran.
Hey, Nick. It's been a long time since you guys took a tight end prior to the fifth round. It's actually been a decade, Gronk being the last one. I know that you are not necessarily drafting for need, but when do positions become a priority? Could that be a position of priority?
There's never one particular position that's priority. I think you go through your draft board and we grade the players at their respective positions, and then you compare players across positions. So, we take the information that we have and we try to make the best decision that we feel is best for our team. So if it happens to be a tight end, it's a tight end. If it's another position, it's another position. So, there's no set formula, so we just try to go through it, and that's why we have a grading system in place so that you assign grades, because what you don't want to do is assign a certain grade. Maybe it's one position a little bit higher than the other, or it's a little bit lower, but then you take a player sort of out of scale, like, is that the best thing for your team? Ultimately, you just have to answer those questions and do what you feel makes the most sense.
Do you feel at all as if that position needs addressing? Didn't get a lot out of it last year after a decade of huge production from that spot because of the last guy you took with a high pick there.
Yeah. Look, in the end, we'll do what we always do, which is we'll make the decisions that we feel are best for our football team, however they manifest themselves.
Okay.
Nick, I think we're all set.
Okay. All right, great. Well, maybe we'll see you tomorrow night. If not, everybody have a good day. Stay healthy. Thanks for taking some time here this evening, and enjoy tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nick.
Thanks.
Nick.